Hello everybody, and as we decided earlier, the central nervous system should not make you all nervous. Last time we learned that the tracts are a bundle of the axon fiber. We know that they are white. The myelination of the axon fibers gives them the color. The gray matter in the brain and spinal cord is because of the cell bodies. So, if we see the cut sections, the vertical cut sections of the brain and a horizontal cut section of the spinal cord, we can see the arrangement of gray matter and white matter. In the spinal cord, the white matter is external, whereas the gray matter is in the interior, in the shape of an H or a butterfly. In the brain, the gray matter is outside and the white matter is inside. We can very well differentiate between the arrangements of the two in the brain and the spinal cord, though both are connected, and all the tracts either move from below upwards or above downwards in the cephalocaudal axis. From below upwards, the ascending or the sensory tracts, and from above downwards, the motor tracts. The sensory tracts carry the sensation from the receptors, which gets converted into the language of the electrical impulses, move via the first, second, third order neurons, reach the brain, the cerebral cortex, which receives the conscious sensations. And the motor information comes down from the motor cortex via the descending tracts and to the effector organs, which are primarily the glands and the muscles. Moving ahead, let's have a quick look at the cross section of spinal cord. The anterior part is motor, the posterior part is sensory. The sensory neuron enters the spinal cord via the posterior or dorsal root ganglion. Let me define the ganglion. A collection of nerve cell bodies outside the central nervous system is a ganglion, whereas a collection of nerve cell bodies inside the central nervous system is a nucleus. So via the posterior or dorsal root ganglion, the first order neuron, which has received the impulse from the receptor, takes the electrical signal, gets terminated on the gray matter, that is the dorsal horn. And here we can see that the motor part of the neuron, which is coming out from the ventral horn of the same spinal cord section. So if we see it properly, we will understand that each spinal segment gives rise to a pair of mixed nerves, which has a sensory and a motor segment. Okay, so moving further, we see that from the posterior nerve root, the point where the first order neuron enters the spinal cord, it enters and gets separated into tracts and nerve bundles. Now, if we see a detailed section of the spinal cord, we can very well identify that there is a set of ascending tracts and there is a set of the descending tracts. And the name is very well explanatory. A spinocerebellar tract goes from the spine to the cerebellum, ascends. A spinothalamic from the spine to the thalamus. In the descending column, we have the corticospinal from the cortex to the spine. So if you have a very good understanding or a observant nature, then you don't have to learn anything. The nervous system is simple. So you just have to observe the terminology and try to understand what it means. We all know that the organization of the ascending pathway is in the form of first, second, and third order neurons. The first order neuron, as we have seen, enters the dorsal root ganglion, and from here it gets terminated at the dorsal horn of the gray matter in the same section of the spinal cord. Where did it come from? It originated at the sensory receptor. And what did the sensory receptor get? It got the sensation. It may be pain, it may be temperature, it may be touch, whatever it may be. Okay. Now here, when it terminates at the dorsal horn, then the dorsal horn becomes the site of origin of the second order neuron. You can see it very well through this diagram, how from the skin, the first order neuron originates via the dorsal root ganglion, comes and terminates on the dorsal horn of the gray matter of the spinal segment. Now, the second order neuron originates at the dorsal horn And it is very important that here the second order neuron crosses to the other side of the same spinal segment. And this crossing over of the fibers in the central nervous system from one side to the other is known as decussation. So crossing the midline to reach the other side is called decussation. In the ascending tracts, the second order neuron decussates to the opposite side. And this is very, very important, because when we will see the further applied part, we will understand how we determine the lesion, the growth, or the injury at a particular level from the presentations of the patient. Now from here, the second order neuron after decussation ascends up and ascends to reach the nucleus of the thalamus. And here the thalamus is a part of the brain. You can see it very well in this diagram, that the second order neuron being depicted by the blue color, it is crossing over to the opposite side. When it crosses over, it ascends. And where does it ascend? Of course, in the white matter. Why? Because it is a tract. And what is a tract? It is a collection of axon fibers. And what are axon fibers? The myelinated structures which form the white matter. So this second order neuron crosses, ascends, and reaches the thalamus. Now, here the second synapse is formed between the second order neuron and the third order neuron. And here, the third order neuron originates at the thalamus and terminates at the cerebral cortex. We all know that all the conscious sensations will reach the cerebral cortex. And in the cerebral cortex, the name of this area is postcentral gyrus. And it is hence called the sensory area. Why? Because the sensations via ascending tracts are reaching the sensory area of the cerebral cortex. I hope it makes sense. Now looking at the vertical section, we see from the sensory receptor, the stimulus or the electrical impulse via the first order neuron enters the spinal cord segment, via the second order neuron decussates to the opposite side and ascends to the thalamus, and via the third order neuron from the thalamus reaches the sensory cortex. So this is a chain of 3 neurons which form the ascending sensory fibers. Now let me give you a brush through of the tracts and their functional components. Now my dear students, it is very important for you to understand that we have identified the tracts, we have named them. But if you look at a cut section of the brain or the spinal cord, you will not get any numbering or any coloring or any identification of the tracts. They will look alike because they are arranged in the form of gray matter and white matter. What we understand is based on our knowledge, on our experiments, on our interventions, and the intensive studies which humans have done on the different systems of the body. So if we look at the tracts, as per the location of the ascending tract, the spinothalamic tract is lateral and anterior. Now this lateral and anterior positions are the positions acquired by the tract while ascending in the spinal cord. So the LST or the LSTT, this lateral spinothalamic tract, is the tract which carries the sensation of pain and temperature. We all know pain is the most common sensation which brings a person to the physician. And temperature is basically a sensation of judgment. What is cold, what is warm, what is hot, what is pleasant, what is unpleasant, what is bearable, what is unbearable. The second is the anterior spinothalamic tract. And this anterior spinothalamic tract carries the sensation of touch and pressure. So on many occasions, the sensations of touch and pressure come together. For example, somebody hits you with a stick. So you feel the touch and you feel the pressure. Now I'll add one more sensation. Or somebody hitting you with a piece of ice, but not in a very crude manner. So it will be a sensation of temperature. touch, and pressure. Somebody hitting with you a ball of heated material, very hot. Now it will give you pain, it will give you a temperature sensation, it will give you a touch and a pressure sensation. So understand that sensations are not individual identities. They are normally combined, but when as physicians we determine the functions and we understand the tracts, we do it individually. Moving further, in the posterior white column, please understand, we have talked about the lateral and the anterior. Now we come to the posterior white column. The posterior white column is taking the conscious proprioceptive sensation. Proprioception is the sensation of the position of the limb in space. And it is a conscious sensation here, whereby we change the position of our limbs as per our need or comfort. Then comes the discriminative touch. At what distance you can discriminate 2 points? And when do these 2 points not become a single sensation? The sensation of vibration, which is transmitted via air. So a vibrating organ or structure or anything like your mobile, it's vibrating when you're sleeping. So the vibration affects us. This is taken up by the posterior white column. And now we come to a very, very important segment, that is the spinocerebral tracts. These cerebellar tracts reach the we have seen the lateral spinothalamic tracts, the anterior spinothalamic tracts, the posterior white column, and now a word about the spinocerebellar tracts. Now, as the name indicates, they originate in the spine and they end at the cerebellum. The cerebellum, as we all know, is the center for tone, posture, and equilibrium. Forms the lower part of the brain, is very important. And here the non-conscious sensations terminate. So before this spinocerebellar tract, all the three categories were terminating on the sensory cortex, in the cerebral cortex. And all the three categories are the conscious sensations. And here we are talking about, in the spinocerebellar tract, the unconscious or the non-conscious information which reaches the cerebellum via our muscles, our joints, the subcutaneous tissue, the skin, etc. So this information we may not regulate, we cannot regulate, we cannot understand. The body and the brain does it on their own. Now, having a look at the main somatosensory pathways, just brush up. For pain and temperature, we saw receptors were the free nerve endings. Pathway was the lateral spinothalamic tract. Termination was the sensory cortex. And the light touch and pressure, anterior spinothalamic tract, spinal lemniscus, and the posterior central gyrus, postcentral gyrus or the sensory cortex. Again, the discriminative touch, vibratory, the posterior sensations, basically, they were terminating on the postcentral gyrus. All the three are terminating on the cerebral cortex, and that is the sensory area. Now we come to the lateral spinothalamic tracts, or the pain and thermal impulses in details. Now we all know that the input or the sensation is taken up by the free nerve endings or the receptors for heat and cold, the thermal receptors. We know that the central processes would enter the spinal cord, or the first order neuron would enter the spinal cord through the posterior nerve root or the dorsal nerve root, and it would proceed to the tip of the dorsal gray column. The central processes of first order neuron synapse with cell body of the second order neuron in the substantia gelatinosa. This is the part of the posterior gray column of the spinal cord in which the second order neuron originates and the synapse between the first and the second order neuron occurs. Now the axon of the second order neuron we know decussates to the opposite side in the anterior gray matter and white commissure. And what was the commissure? They were horizontal fibers in the spinal cord, in the brain, and these horizontal fibers were the white matter fibers. Okay, so we know the corpus callosum, it is the commissure. So and they ascend contralaterally. Contra is on the opposite side of the white matter in the lateral location upwards, forming the lateral spinothalamic tract. Now, why the word contra? The word ipsi means on the same side. So if the sensation is being taken up by my right hand, then in this case, the spinothalamic tract, the lateral spinothalamic tract of the left side is going to take it up. So contralateral, opposite sides and on the lateral location of the spinal cord, the white matter of the spinal cord. Now it synapses with the third order neuron in the thalamus, as we have all seen, and the third order neuron originates and terminates on the sensory cortex. Now the third order neuron passes through the posterior limb of the internal capsule. As the name suggests, it is a capsular opening, a small structure where the fibers come very close together, and after passing the internal capsule, the fibers get splitted, or we can say they spread up, and they radiate, and in a fanning type of pattern they get distributed on the postcentral gyrus of the cerebral cortex in the areas 3, 1 and 2. Now just have a look at the diagrams. The difference between the two diagrams depicting the pain and the temperature pathway is that one is showing the cut sections, the horizontal sections, the lateral sections, or the transverse sections of the spinal cord, right from the point of entry to the ascent and to the termination in the brain, where this section of the cerebral cortex is definitely vertical. Whereas the second diagram is showing the entire vertical section of the brain and spinal cord. So we can very well see how from the sensory receptor to the post-central gyrus, the information or the electrical sensation or the impulse, which is the language of the nerves, is carried. Now, I'm coming to a very, very important discussion. How we apply it clinically. Now, in the lateral spinothalamic tract, which is carrying the pain and the thermal sensations, if the injury is, the blue line is showing the injury or the cut or maybe any large sized tumor which is totally compressing it, making it dysfunctional. What will happen is that if the lesion is at a particular level. Now we know there is crossing over of fibers at the level of the second order neuron at the spinal cord. So the sensation which is being brought from the opposite side will be lost. So if there is an injury on the left side of the lateral spinothalamic tract, then the pain and thermal sensations coming from the right side below that level, that is the spinal segments below the level of the injury or lesion, their sensation will be lost. This is very well documented and explained in the diagram. It means if you give any pain sensation like a pinprick or something like pinching, or you put some hot or cold liquid or test tubes filled with hot or cold material at the level of the spinal cord segment below the lesion, the patient will not be able to recognize it. Now, when it comes to the loss of sensations, I would like to mention a very, very important point here, that everybody should have a very, very open perception towards loss of sensation. And that is, in a disease of the peripheral nervous system called as leprosy, the infection of the Mycobacterium leprae makes the peripheral nerves incapable of taking up the sensations, and so there is loss of sensation. It is not a injury or lesion of the lateral spinothalamic tract. Similarly, there is a condition called as syringomyelia, though I will not talk much about it, but it is a condition in which there is compression in the tuft of the nerves which are being carried by the spinal cord. So that is again a condition where the sensation losses there. So lateral spinothalamic tract lesion, you can very well understand. Now if we come to the anterior spinothalamic tract. Now In today's lecture, I will be talking about the anterior spinothalamic tract, and I will wind up. The next time, I will carry this discussion further. So we have seen it takes care of the light touch pressure impulses. Inputs we know come from the various receptors, the free nerve endings, the tactile sensitive receptors, etc. First order neuron is as it was in the lateral spinothalamic tract, dorsal root ganglion, it enters at all the levels. Second order crosses to the opposite side, decussates, ascends in the contralateral side, but in the ventral column. So now the tract has changed. The earlier tract, lateral spinothalamic tract, was ascending laterally. The anterior spinothalamic tract is ascending vertically. Ends up at the nucleus of the thalamus, and the third order neuron originates from here and terminates on the sensory cortex, the posterior postcentral gyrus. Now again have a look at both the diagrams. One is the transverse section of the spinal cords and the midbrain pons medulla at different levels, and the vertical section of the brain, and the other is the total vertical section of the brain and spinal cord. This very clearly shows us how the chain of neurons ascends or takes up the sensation and goes and distribute it widely on the postcentral gyrus, that is the sensory cortex. If we apply it in the clinical practice, we see that if there is a loss of sensation of touch or pressure sensation, again below the level of the lesion, okay, that is, if the lesion has occurred at a particular point, and at that point the injury is on one side, then we have to understand very well, as we did in the lateral spinothalamic tract, that this injury at a particular level on one side will affect the transmission of sensations of all the spinal segments below that level and on the opposite side. So if the injury is at one particular level on the right side of the spinal cord, then the sensations of the spinal segments below that level on the opposite side, that is the sensation of touch and pressure, will not be carried up. So today we have seen the lateral spinothalamic tract and the anterior spinothalamic tract, and we have seen how the pain, temperature, touch and pressure sensations move up. We will be continuing it in the next part and taking this discussion further. If you have any doubts, then you can contact me and you can write up, and your questions I will receive on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you.